Hi geeks, welcome to one more episode of Next Week in History, the only YouTube program that blends history, fun facts, and bacon. Thanks again to all of you watching, you are awesome! Monday, December 28th. December 28th brings a key moment in the history of entertainment, because in 1895, the world's first commercial movie screening takes place at the Grand Café in Paris, marking the debut of the cinema, and no, popcorn was not served. It was in Paris, so maybe croissant? Who made this happen, you ask? Well, the Lumière brothers, of course. Louis and Auguste Lumière were two French brothers who had developed a camera projector called the cinematograph, which was a way better way of showing moving pictures than the kinetoscope, which had been developed by Thomas Edison in 1891, and which only allowed one person at a time to watch the clip through a peephole. Yeah, not too convenient. Anyway, the French immediately saw that they could make some money and became the first filmmakers in history, and on December 28th they screened a series of short scenes from everyday French life in charge admission for the first time. They featured 10 short films, about 50 seconds each, including the first film, Sortie des usines Lumière à Lyon, which showed workers leaving the Lumière factory. You might think that sounds boring, but well, back in then, it blew people's minds. And without that, there would be no Star Wars franchise. Fun fact, did you know that the Lumières also developed the first practical color photography process in 1907? These French guys were smart. Tuesday, December 29th. December 29, 1916 brings us to a person and an event surrounded in mystery and legend, the murder of Gregory Rasputin. Who was Rasputin? Rasputin, aka the Mad Monk, wielded great influence over the Tsar Nicholas II, his wife, and Russian history. He was born a peasant, but had some visions that drove him to a life as a religious mystic. He eventually got introduced to the Russian royal family in 1905, where he showed an ability to heal the royal son Alexis when no other doctor could, and was then welcomed into the family circle. His accurate prophecies and powerful and magnetic personality made him an increasingly influential figure, which generated great resentment towards him from the ruling class. He was widely accused as a womanizer and scandalous behavior, but constantly got the backing from the royal family. There were several plots to exile him or end with his life, but all failed until the night of December 29, 1916, when a group of conspirators fed him wine and cakes laced with cyanide. However, to their despair, Rasputin did not die, so they shot him twice. But when he still refused to die, well, they drowned him, ending his life, or not. Fun fact, a Russian museum claims to have Rasputin's 12-inch ding-dong on a jar, but while impressive, I'm sorry, it's most probably a fake. Wednesday, December 30th. On December 30th, 1953, the first color TV set, the Admiral Color Television, went on sale. That is great. Only two problems. Problem number one, it cost about $1,175 in 1953 money, which is about $8,000 in today money, or about the same price of a Chevrolet car. Problem number two, there were no shows broadcasted in color, so you had this great color TV, but you could only watch shows in black and white. Nice, what a great idea. Anyway, the first national color broadcast was the Tournament of Roses Parade on NBC on January 1st, 1954. But during the next 10 years, most network broadcasts and nearly all local programming continued to be in black and white. No surprise then that the adoption of color TV was low at first. Color TV sets did not become affordable to the masses until the late 1960s, and in 1972, finally surpassed sales of black and white sets. And today, no one cares anymore about television, because YouTube is so much better. Thursday, December 31st. We are about to end the year, and this day is celebrated in multiple ways around the world. In general, people get together, dance, eat, get drunk, watch or light fireworks, and not get back home till daybreak. Let's take a look at fun facts and traditions for New Year's Eve around the world. Did you know that Samoa is the first place to celebrate New Year, while American Samoa is the last one, while they are only barely 80 kilometers apart? Wow! Now, a few fun traditions. Spanish people chant 12 grades, one at each stroke of the clock at midnight to ensure good luck for the coming year. Danish people welcome the new year by hurling old plates and glasses against the doors of friends and relatives' houses. They also stand on chairs and then jump off them together at midnight. Okay, they had too much alcohol maybe? In South Africa, some throw all appliances out of the window. In Brazil, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Venezuela, it is considered lucky to wear special underwear on New Year's Eve. Red is good for love, wink wink, yellow for money, ka-ching ka-ching. In Germany, they watch the same British show, Dinner for One, every year since 1972. And in Philippines, people wear polka dots and feast on round-shaped food to bring prosperity. Finally, in Scotland, they have Hogmanay, where they mix alcohol with holding balls of fire and swinging them over the head. A very safe combination. And of course, in America, they have the midnight kiss, in hope of a new year full of love. Happy New Year to all! Friday, January 1st. Happy New Year, Coco fans! Hey, but did you know that January 1st has not always been considered the first day of the year? No kidding! January 1st became the first day of the year in 46 BC with the introduction of the Julian calendar. However, during the Middle Ages, many countries decided to choose religiously significant dates to mark the beginning of the year. So in some countries it started in Christmas, in some on March 25th, in some in Easter. What a mess! And that lasted a while. In fact, in England, that did not change back to January 1st until 1752. But on January 1st, we have something way more important to celebrate than a new year. The official birth in 1983 of the Internet! Happy birthday! In fact, the Internet started as a result of the Cold War in the 1960s as a way for government researchers to be able to share information even after a potential nuclear attack. That closed network was called ARPANET, and on January 1st, 1983, a new communications protocol was established called TCP/IP that allowed different types of computers to talk to each other, uniting all networks with a universal language, hence creating the Internet. Cheers to that! Saturday, January 2nd. On January 2nd, 1492, the Emirate of Granada, the last Moorish stronghold in Spain, surrendered. This is supposed to be the end of the Reconquista, a period of 770 years between the initial stage of the Islamic conquest of the Iberian Peninsula in the year 711 and the final fall of Granada to the expanding Christian kingdoms in 1492. However, reality is much more complex. At that time, everyone fought against everyone else. For example, Spanish hero El Cid fought his first battle for a Muslim state against a Christian one. What? In fact, while the Muslims ruled, there was an incredible religious tolerance and everyone was accepted, Christians and Jews included. Not only that, on that period, scientific progress flourished, education was universal, and Cordoba, with a population of 500,000 people, became the largest and most prosperous city in Europe. All that finished when the Moors were defeated. Spain landed hard in the Dark Middle Ages with fanatic Christian kings forcing conversions, persecuting and expelling Jews and Arabs, and creating a shitty economy based on conquering the New World and wasting all that richness found there in meaningless, stupid wars. Sounds familiar, right? That proves that we all have the potential to do great or do horrible things. Religion is not what makes the difference. Sunday, January 3rd. January 3rd brings us to the far, far east, when in 1868 Japan started the Meiji Restoration. The Meiji Restoration took the power away from the shoguns, Japanese-style general lords, who had ruled for almost 700 years, and restored the power to Emperor Meiji. This event is very important since it marked the emergence of Japan as a modernized, powerful nation in the early 20th century, and in fact it was sparked by the contact with the West, especially after US Commodore Matthew Paris used his superior firepower to force Japan to open its borders to trade in 1853. Japanese then realized they were way behind the colonial powers and decided it was time to catch up or risk losing their independence. So in true Japanese fashion, they set to it, they blended modern advances with Eastern values, and man, did they do it. In less than 50 years, they moved from a feudal society with 1.9 million privileged samurais to a modern market economy with a modern army and navy, and had massive social reforms, putting an end to the samurai era. Unfortunately, all this success also pushed Japan's pride and eventually led to the imperialist ideas that would bring lots of death and suffering around Asia. They did not know yet that with great power comes great responsibility. And with that thought, we end this episode of Next Week in History. Hope you enjoy it! Please subscribe, like and share with your friends. Your support is what keeps us going. And always remember, with coconuts, be happy, have fun, and let's go nuts! Till next week, geeks!